Well, here's another episode of Let's Teach from Home. So I figured I'd give you guys a little, not help, but just a review of what I assigned the last few days. Here's that first Google Forms assignment for you guys that had 5 questions on it, all Regents level. I'll start with question 1 and work my way down. Question 1 asks us to evaluate the function. And we have the function f of x equals 4x plus 5. And we want to evaluate it for x's equal to negative 3 or f of negative 3. Now, I go about these problems the same way for every one of them. I start with writing the function as a function of x, and then evaluate the function for the given value. In this case, it's negative 3. Then when I evaluate, 4 times negative 3 is negative 12 plus 5 should equal negative 7. All right, and that was choice 2. I hope you guys are starting to see that we're probably going to be doing this for a few weeks and becoming comfortable with using the online platforms that we're on. And I guess what I can say is that I don't know if the Regents tests are going to go on as planned, but at this point, we have to assume they are, and we're still going to prep as if we're going to take them in June. So, I mean, that's kind of the point on why we're assigning all this work right now. As far as new curriculum goes, we'll do our best to teach new curriculum, but I feel like what we're doing here, prepping for the Regents and doing Regents level questions on curriculum we've already covered, is going to be our most effective use of our time at this point. So moving on to question 2, we're evaluating the function. In this case, we want to evaluate the function, it's called g of x this time, given by negative 2x squared plus 3x, for the value of g of negative 3, or when x is equal to negative 3. So again, I started out the same way as the other problem. I rewrite the function of x, and now I want to evaluate it for when x is equal to negative 3. I'll substitute a negative 3 in for all my x's. And believe me when I say, you can type this into your calculator and you'll get the answer. No need to actually do it by hand, however I will. I'm given negative 2, and I'll do what's inside the parentheses first, raising the negative 3 to the second power to give me 9. And 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. Now perhaps I'll rewrite. Negative 2 times 9 is negative 18, plus negative 9 is the same as subtracting 9. And when I subtract negative 18 and negative 9, I get negative 27. Choose 1. Question 3 is also an evaluation of the function. This time we have the function k of x, where it's equal to 2x squared minus 3 times the square root of x. And if you didn't know, that is the square root symbol. It's located on your calculator above the squared button. But we want to evaluate it for when x is equal to 9. Therefore, I'll substitute a 9 in for every x I see. And believe it or not, this step you can type right into your calculator and get an answer. I'll do it by hand, of course, where I have 2 times 9 squared. Well, 9 squared is 81. And I'm just going to rewrite the second portion of this function, minus 3 times the square root of 9 for now. After that, I know that 81 times 2 is 162. How do you like that? Quick math. Minus, well, right here, the square root of 9 says what number multiplied by itself gives me 9. And in that case, it's 3. So the square root of 9 simplifies to 3. I still need to multiply that by my negative 3, if you will. So therefore, I have 162 minus 3 times 3 is 9. And that'll give me my final answer of 162 minus 9, 153. Choice 4. Now moving up to question 4, we're going to evaluate the function again. Type our answer in the space provided. In this case, I didn't give you choices, but it's the same type of problem where I'm given a function negative 4x squared minus 3x plus 2, and I want to evaluate it from when x is equal to negative 2. And notice my process is the same for every one of these questions. Write the function again, evaluate it for a specific number, and then calculate. Here I'm given g of negative 2 is equal to negative 4 times negative 2 squared, which is 4, minus 3 times negative 2 is negative 6 plus 2. And again, I'll rewrite. Negative 16. Negative and a negative make a positive, so therefore I'll add 6. And I'll add 2. And lastly, g of negative 2 equals negative 16 plus 8. And that'll give me my final answer of 8. And moving on to my last question. It says evaluate the function based on the graph below. We have the graph of f of x, which happens to be a cubic function, meaning that it's something raised to the third power, a cubic function. And it really has 3 zeros. That's again where they, I guess you could say, cross the x-axis. Now, we want to know not where our zeros are, but we want to know where is x equal to 3 on our graph. And once we find that, what's the value of y? So, I'll go on my graph, and let's use a different color here. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And again, I'm looking at my x-axis, and I want to find out where negative 3 is. Well, lucky for me, I know that negative 3 is all along this line. And now, where does it cross my graph? Specifically, right at that point. I know that point is going to be negative 3 comma something, and I'll just count up on my y-axis. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So when I find f of negative 3, I know that my output is equal to 6, my y value. It's always given an input, find your output. Given an x, find your y. And therefore, our final answer should be choice 1. That's it. So, I'll post this up for you guys, and I hope that you follow along with it. If you have any questions, please email me or comment on the thread. And I'll be doing this for all of our Regents reviews. Okay, so you have one that I just pushed out today. I'll post these notes Friday, so you guys can review anything you might have had trouble with. See ya.